Today is April 30th, 2020. We will be starting our program at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Today's topic, navigating your business through COVID-19 and after. I would like to introduce today's presenters, Jacqueline DeWitt, UPS Marketing Manager, Jeanette Glosses, UPS Capital Marketing, Mike Swanson, UPS Director of Marketing, Sean Holmes, UPS International Sales Manager, all with a total of 73 years of experience in the supply chain. A few housekeeping notes. As a participant, your audio will be in listen-only mode using your phone or computer, whichever is more convenient. Additionally, you will have the opportunity to ask your questions using the question window. This is a live webinar event and it will be recorded. A link to the recording will be provided to you within a few days. Now I would like to turn the presentation over to the UPS team.
Thank you. Good afternoon. We're happy to be here. I'm excited to present to the Manufacturers Association. We've been a great partner with them, so we're excited that we could be a part of the webinar series as well. I'll do another quick introduction. I know Sherry just covered us, but I am Jacqueline DeWitt. I'm with the marketing group of UPS in Florida. I specifically work with manufacturing and industrial products industry. And joining me also is Janet from UPS Capital Marketing. She has a background also in sales and marketing. And then Mike Swanson, been with UPS about 25 years, and he has a background also in operations, marketing, and finance. And then Sean Holmes is joining us from the international team, who has a background in sales as well, and he's been with UPS about 20 years. So we're excited to be a part of the call today. I'll go through the agenda quickly, and I'll just also share, please feel free to ask questions as we go along. Because we will change subjects throughout the call. So if you want to ask the question while it's pertinent, please feel free to do so. And then I'll also provide my email at the end of the call. So if you have any maybe longer questions that you don't feel comfortable sharing in the chat, please feel free to reach out to me after the call as well. So just to give you a UPS background, most people are familiar, of course, with what we do, but we do a few other things that I think maybe not the average customer is aware of. And then after that, we'll spend the bulk of our time talking through industrial manufacturing trends, specifically what we've seen in terms of inventory, e-commerce, and cash flow. So we'll touch on what's going on right now and sort of the wake of the COVID-19 virus, but we'll also touch on trends that we saw in general outside of that, we'll call it economic blip, I guess we'll say. And then we'll talk through some of the pain points and also tie in some of the UPS solutions that we offer. And at the end, we'll just summarize with some suggestions on what might be best practices moving forward to hopefully help you get momentum as we enter back into what will be a more normal economy, we'll say. So first, just to touch on what UPS does. Everybody's pretty familiar, I believe, with the package side of what we do. We are also the 5th largest airline carrier in the world, so we do a lot via our airline network and day-specific type of moves. But we also work as the freight realm. I think people are a little familiar with the UPS freight function. You probably see our trucks on the road. Also outside of that, so we do the truckload and the LTL moves with UPS Freight, but we also have ocean, cargo, and air freight that we do as well. We also own a company called Coyote Logistics, which is a third-party logistics company. So they pretty much marry empty trucks and drivers with people that need to move goods. So that's another resource as well. We do own them, but they're not changing their name. So Coyote Logistics is another avenue that might be able to assist you based on your needs. And then we also work in contract logistics. Of course, based on what we do and the experience that we have, we're able to provide solutions in warehousing and distribution, as well as some service part logistics solutions where in some cases for our larger customers, we even pick up their broken goods, deliver it to a UPS facility. The UPS employee actually fixes it and gets it back. So we can be a part of your solution like that. And the other piece that we offer is insurance, which people are not as familiar with. And I will let Janet explain UPS Capital a little bit.
At UPS Capital, we provide insurance and we can help customers with your cash flow and very quick claims processing. So the next slide. Really what we do is we are the insurance and financial division of UPS, so we can really help customers anticipate risks and provide the solutions to protect your business from the inherent complexities of global trade, and then help customers really improve their cash flow and increase cash conversion cycle with unique product options, and then help securely accept payments, making it easier to buy and sell on the global market.
Great, thanks, Janet. And then just on the last UPS note, I'll touch on a couple little statistics that I like to share with people just so they understand a little more about our brand. So we've been around since 1907. We're nearing almost 500,000 employees globally. And last year alone, we delivered about 5.5 billion packages, letters, and documents throughout the world. We also work with over 11 million customers a day, so we've been able to garner good relationships with them and make some observations, a lot of what we'll be able to share today in terms of some of the trends we see. And then two things we'll talk about later in the presentation is our My Choice, UPS My Choice, where we have 67 million participants in that program. And we also have about 40,000 access points in our access point network, and we'll talk about those a little later in the presentation. So looking at what, we all started 2020, I think, with a pretty positive view, and then we had a little bit of an unexpected hiccup, we'll say. But hopefully by the end of this call, we'll be able to share some insights and trends that are going on in manufacturing and distributors and customers like that. So by the end of the call, we hope that your confidence is like this glass, a little more half full, and we'll give you some guidance to pursue the next few months with a lot of momentum and success. So we'll start with just a snapshot of what we see today. And this survey was done a couple of weeks ago by Digital Commerce, but it's looking at what actions are companies taking as a result of the coronavirus, specific to their supply chain. So most are in just constant communication with their suppliers, trying to shore up the lost inventory and determine when things will arrive, of course. And then they're also looking to make contingency plans to ensure minimal impact to their supply chain. And they're working with transportation and supply chain providers to minimize disruptions. So UPS has obviously been pretty integral in those three buckets, as well as some other ones. So we'll take a lot of what we've learned from the past few months, as well as just overall trends, and share those with you today. And the first area that we really want to talk about is inventory delays and shortages. So we'll start with just some trends doing right now. And the big one is just transparency. So you can see from a couple examples here, just being transparent with your customers, specific to what's happening. So in the top right example, you can see they've changed their return policy. Some customers have changed their pricing just based on the needs. Like the second example you can see on this slide, they actually sourced and they had a factory in Italy that's still shut down. So they've now had to change their prices to correspond with what's going on with their company. But just being transparent with your customers and your partners throughout this time is a key piece that we see in terms of trends related to inventory. And then we'll sort of zoom out and we'll talk about the trends we've observed in manufacturing in general. So we did a study in 2019, we call it the Industrial Buying Dynamics Study, and we sourced a bunch of procurement and buying groups within the industrial segment, and also broke it out into generations. So you can see we're looking at now sort of the international sourcing picture. So from an inventory perspective, you can see based on who you're working with, millennials are a little more open to sourcing internationally. So you can see 50% of them looking to source internationally, whereas when you get into Gen X and the boomer segment, they're a little more reluctant to source internationally. The other piece of this is where these customers source. So we often see for customers that are more focused on product quality and reliability, they source from the North America region or Europe, whereas if you're more focused on the cost of the good, we see a lot of sourcing from Asia, of course, the Middle East, and South America also. So those are some trends to observe there. Beyond that, where it gets a little more surprising is generally, I think you would assume when people are willing to source internationally, they're probably willing to wait a little longer to receive the package, but surprisingly, that's actually not true anymore. You can see 38% of buyers who are willing to source internationally still expect the product within 2 days. So that's a pretty staggering takeaway, which is why we offer so many expedited solutions now. Millennials especially are willing to pay more to get that package as quickly as possible, regardless of where it's coming from. So offering these sort of expedited services to your consumers is a big key piece of this. And this expedited service might also be able to solve some of your problems with your inventory, depending on where you're sourcing from currently. So then from overall impacts on the COVID side, we also see 93% of businesses have or expect to see some sort of impact to their supply chain. And I'll actually turn it over to Sean Holmes, who's going to dive in a little more with his international insights on this piece.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sean Holmes, as Jacqueline just mentioned. And a couple of things I just wanted to mention on this particular slide right here. some of the impacts of COVID-19 and as we're expecting as a result of it. As we can see, it's going to be some possible shortages from the inventory side, production delays, reduced consumer confidence as a result of this. The question I want to ask, and as we prepare to go into a post-COVID-19 stage, is do we have a export strategy outlined right now? Do we have that necessary license for the changes that's going to take place with some of our overseas manufacturers? Is our company ready to begin exporting again once we come out of COVID-19? And then what would be the impact or effect to our company? And then product potential, will we continue along the same lines of the same products, or will we have to make some changes to the current product market that we're particularly in right now? So just some of the things to consider about COVID impacts that's going to impact our inventory, cause possible delays or shortages, is the preparation moving forward.
Thanks, John. So now we'll get into some of the UPS solutions and how UPS can help specifically with these. So we talked about the expedited service. Customers are expecting things quickly if you have the option to do that. So I'll actually let Sean elaborate a little bit on some of those solutions that we provide as well.
Yeah, just to name a few of these solutions that we provide currently: international air freight, allowing you to go to distance with large international freight, whether it's palletized, non-palletized, shrink wrap. There are a couple of different ways that you can move it through our international air freight service. We also have the worldwide express freight service, which is a fast, reliable solution that offers a guaranteed time of transit of 1 to 3 days for most markets. And these are in a lot of the key markets. And these are our palletized shipments that we need in an urgent matter. We also look at some of the service from our custom brokerage side. I can tell you from my experience dealing with COVID-19 right now, brokerage has changed. Some of the guidelines for brokerage has changed. Some of the restrictions and some of the necessary paperwork has changed due to a lot of the PPE needs, the personal protection needs that's taken place. In addition to that, ocean carries, as we saw in the previous slide, over 80% of the world's current volume. So when you look at that, we also have the preferred FCL, full container load, and the less than container load ocean movements. In this case here, we offer that from a lot of our Asia, European, and LATAM market, as well as the Middle East, and also to include our truck network or one of our partner truck networks. Then we have the trade direct piece, which I was a part of for many years. This allows us to bring consolidated shipments over at a reduced overall freight cost, bring it into one of our facilities, and then we distribute it individually, either to a residential or business, or by truckload or less than truckload to the end consumer, saving on warehouse space and things like that. So a lot of these are not only reasons to expedite your inventory, but also options to expedite your inventory as well.
Right, that's great, Sean, thanks. Just also because I think, 7 of the 10 busiest ports right now are in China, so obviously there's some issues there, so these give you maybe some alternate options as well. And then I'll turn it over to Janet to talk a little more about the UPS Capital piece and how that fits into some of the inventory solutions.
Thanks, Jacqueline. So UPS Capital really can help with your financial protection of your goods to ensure your business continuity. From a business perspective, we looked on the other slide that mentioned that the top 3 actions other businesses are currently taking, which were consistently speaking with their suppliers, making contingency plans so there's minimal impact to the supply chain, and then working with transportation providers to minimize disruption. So UPS Capital can help with those contingency plans should you lose or your shipment gets damaged. And we can also help minimize disruption. The first way is really to look at full risk cargo insurance, which really protects in-transit freight as well as warehouse goods against loss or damage through an annual insurance policy. And what that does is that it provides worldwide coverage regardless of the carrier or the shipping mode. We'll reimburse you up to the full amount of your goods, the full value, and also cover perishable and time-sensitive goods. And also you'll be able to get some reimbursement for reshipping. It's really important to keep customers happy at this time, and making sure that you can send out the same type of product to them in a short period of time would be very important. And quick online claims. We have one portal, so for all of your modes, all carriers, you can submit your claims through this one portal. And most of our customers get paid within 5 days or less. So that really increases your working capital and really streamlines the way you can issue and get paid on claims. And also 90 days for concealed damage, so up to 90 days to actually submit a claim. So even with your warehouse goods, if inventory is coming in slower that we saw before, you want to protect what you have. So if something does go wrong in the warehouse, you'll get paid, and then you can reorder and stock your shelves. Now with the cargo insurance API, it's the same benefits, but it's the one-stop, it's transactional insurance. And what's really great about the API is that it's able to interface with your platform. So be able to connect with your ERP or your OMS or TMS platforms, and you can set business rules up front as to which shipments, cargo, small package, air freight, LTL you'd like to insure. And then you can issue claims, see the history status, get paid on claims, and pull invoices through the platform to reconcile. So again, it's your own platform. You'll still get that payment for all those modes within and under 5 days, and it would really streamline your process there. And then last, for the flex parcel insurance, it's transactional coverage, small package only, and there's special coverage like consequential coverage, and then also coverage for, say, face value of documents, tickets, and gift cards. Back to you, Jack.
Okay, thanks. So now we'll wrap that section up and we'll go into the shift to e-commerce, where we see probably the most traction lately, specific to what happened to recently, but also in general, manufacturing has been gearing in that fashion anyway. So we'll dive into a lot of the findings that we have for this area. And the first thing I'll go through is, I guess I'll ask you to put on your consumer cap. So when you actually make a purchase online, you have this sort of a set of expectations in your purchase criteria. So we'll go through some of these. They may not be surprising to you as an online shopper. You might have these same expectations. But the first one you'll see is 44% of online shoppers have abandoned an order due to time in transit. And we see a lot of that surprises us sometimes, especially our customers. So for example, we worked with a customer recently who they shipped, I think, like $6 socks. So they could never understand why somebody would want to pay maybe $20 to expedite a pair of $6 socks, but it happens all the time. And once this customer was able to realize that and set it up so they could expedite those orders, they got an extra 15 orders a week. So then they started to question, were we missing out on these 15 orders a week for the past 2 years? And it's possible, but it's definitely something to look at, especially it resonates with what we just saw in the international section as well. Because obviously if they expect goods from overseas in 2 days, they probably expect it to come from somewhere in the US within that same time frame. And then 30% of online shoppers have ordered same-day delivery, and that's a behavior we continue to see, especially now. There's certain goods that customers just expect to get quickly. The other trend is 58% of global consumers are prepared to buy more internationally. So that gives you a huge opportunity if you are open to exporting. Really, only 5% of the world's population, I think, is in the United States, so you have so much opportunity just outside of our borders. So if we can help you guide some of those international sales, that might be an additional area for growth as well. And the last trend, we always look at the top 1,000 retailers because the opportunities that they're creating and the paths that they're taking become the trends that most customers expect regardless of industry. So we see 54.8% of the top retailers offer that next day delivery. So the speed to consumer is still a big piece of this. The other thing with e-commerce, especially when manufacturers are introducing it into their marketplace, it allows for purchasing at all hours. And beyond that, what's also really important is that a lot of people go to the websites just for research purposes too. So even if they're not making an actual purchase, they can use this for research to see product dimensions, capacity, even watch demonstrational videos, whatever's available on the website. So sometimes just setting up a nice e-commerce platform can also eliminate some of your overhead costs by stopping some of those phone calls that might come to the office and questions on product specifics. If they're on the website, customers can easily access that there. And many of them prefer to do that way also now. The last trend I'll talk about with our manufacturing customers that we see a lot with is, we call it trial first, I guess we'll say. So for instance, if you sold product X for a lot of years and you have your preferred sales channel in that method, whether it's like an inside sales team or however you sell that product, a lot of customers are hesitant to then sell that same product online. So instead, the easiest way to sort of dip your toe in the e-commerce pool is create Product Z, which is similar to Product X, but it's just a little different. Maybe it's a little smaller. Maybe it's made with a more affordable material, so you can sell it at a lower price point. And then you can introduce the e-commerce platform in that way. And a lot of customers have seen success in that avenue. So then we'll go into some trends that we saw from the industrial buying dynamics study. So the big takeaway here, we did this study in 2017 and again in 2019. And you can see what jumps out is the big drop in distributor purchases. So over the course of that 2-year period, distributors lost about 7%, whereas the manufacturers and the e-marketplaces gained. So as millennials are driving more of those purchase decisions, we see that their trends are to purchase directly from manufacturers or e-marketplaces. So we'll go into looking at that by generation a little more. You can see that the boomers skewed a lot more towards the distributor sort of purchases, whereas millennials prefer to purchase directly from the manufacturer. So that's a big takeaway. If you are manufacturing something and you don't have the capacity to sell it on your website, or an e-marketplace is not set up, there is probably a missed opportunity there. So it's something to look at in terms of future growth, especially with the behaviors that we've driven now with the stay-at-home type of economy. We see that will continue into the future, which we'll talk about in a couple of slides. And then to dive in a little deeper here, I'll go through some of the psychology behind this purchasing trend. So if you follow me on the right-hand side of this slide, and we'll start with just that dark brown circle, so you can see that represents the manufacturers. So people are more apt to purchase from a manufacturer because the number one reason is they believe the product quality is superior. So 45% of the purchasers we surveyed said that they would prefer to purchase from a manufacturer because they thought the product quality was superior to what they would receive from an online channel or from a distributor. Where they also ranked highest was in good reputation, and then that on-site and off-site post-sale support. So those are big categories. And also you can take that as a takeaway if you are a distributor, perhaps, maybe you just can do something to increase your post-sale support, and that would also help facilitate some additional sales in your realm. The other takeaway from the online marketplaces, you can see they ranked the best in the top 3 categories. So obviously the price and the value and the ease of placing an online order, because the online marketplaces, if you're using some like Shopify or BigCommerce, they're pretty much set up. They're like a template for you to use, so you can already quickly sort of get up to speed and get selling on an e-commerce platform that way. So obviously the ease of placing an order is expedited when you use the online marketplaces. So you can take away some of the trends there. And then the other way we wanted to look at this as well is by industry. So you can see, if I go to the next slide. Okay, there we go. So you can see breaking it down by industry, there's also additional trends to look at depending on what you are dealing with. So like industrial equipment and OEM parts, if you focus on those 2 circles, they see the highest propensity of purchases direct from the manufacturer. So if you were in one of those sections or segments, we'll say, and you don't have the capacity to sell online, you could be missing a big chunk of business because you might assume that the distributor model is working for you, but this kind of resonates that consumers are looking to purchase directly from your manufacturing website, which drives behavior towards hopefully setting up a website or coming up with a solution that might facilitate obtaining some of those missed sales. The one area that's a little different is the janitorial supplies. You can see down there, I think 51% is the total of the distributor there. So they still make up the bulk of the janitorial supply segment, but the rest are skewing a little more towards the online marketplace and direct from manufacturer purchases. So definitely something to take into account as you execute some plans moving forward. And then we'll dive back into the COVID-19. Obviously, this has driven the trend where we continue to see e-commerce growth. 75% of American internet users say they're likely to continue to avoid shopping centers and malls. They're probably going to drive a lot more business into e-commerce. So we see overall, we see retail rise 74% through March, and we continue to believe that will be the trend moving forward. So making those options available to your consumers or your customers through your own e-commerce platform or through an online marketplace is likely an avenue to explore for additional revenue growth moving forward. But understanding that, there are probably 3 areas that you have to look at that come with the shift to e-commerce. The first is obviously building the website and understanding what works best for your product or good, whether it is an e-commerce platform or an alternate type of sales channel that you could set up. For instance, I just bought something off of Etsy that was a smaller type of manufacturing good. So that's a great opportunity if you have something smaller that might be a good fit for that type of website where you can set up a storefront very quickly. The second thing to look at is once you have that e-commerce model set up and ready to go, then you have to look at how to drive traffic to that website. So we have a lot of digital marketing solutions. Social media also plays into this bucket as well. You could even make purchases off of Instagram now if you set that up. So there's a lot of opportunity there in terms of driving traffic back to your e-commerce website once you set that up. And then the other piece of this is once you're ready to go and start taking orders online, then customers expect that the communication throughout the purchase process. So if you order from Amazon or Walmart.com, you get the email as soon as you order it, then you get the email on that your product is going to come in this many packages, and here's the day it's going to arrive. So we can also help you keep that communication up with your customers as well once they make a purchase from your website. All right. So now we'll dive in a little more into some of those solutions that UPS can offer in this realm. So the first is, I'll talk a little bit about this one. There's a lot of content, but a number of years ago, UPS does a lot of things great, but we also realized that customers needed something like these demand generation partners. So we created partnerships with these companies that you see here, as well as some other ones, but these are the 5 that we probably work with the most frequently. So you can see a lot of times we'll introduce our customers to these partners that we've created so they can also help our customers grow, and it's kind of a win-win for both of us. So some of the companies here I'll just highlight are Miva, and Miva would help you with your website development for both B2B and B2C type of purchases. Then we also work with NetElixir, who would help you actually acquire the customers. So looking at search engine optimization, website optimization, some analytics behind that, they can assist in that area. And then ListTrack is more of a segmented, personalized sort of marketing campaign. You've probably received stuff like that. So they can help in that area as well. Rakuten's more of an affiliate marketing offer. So it offers both through UPS channels and external channels to help drive traffic back to your website for purchases. And the last is Zenrillo, which is a loyalty program. So you might be part of these with some of the retailers that you shop with. If that's something that would fit your business, we can also connect you with Zenrillo, who would help set up a loyalty program as well. So these are just some of the offers that we have to help you sort of dip your toe into this e-commerce platform. You could work with them on your own, or we also have a platform that we'll talk about in a few slides where UPS can help connect you with these companies and hopefully drive that relationship moving forward. And then the next thing we'll talk about, Janet, a couple of slides ago, mentioned an API on the capital side. We also offer some APIs that would help directly with your website as well. The biggest one is the time and transit API. So you can see an example in the bottom right corner here. And the API just connects basically your own website to ups.com. So once a customer types in their shipping address, it would then you get this information at the bottom right corner. So you could see in this case, if you want to ship this package ground, you could get it Thursday for free. Or if you wanted to expedite it, you could get the product on Wednesday for an extra $20 or Tuesday for that extra $28. So this is an easy integration into your own website using the API that we would provide. And it helps you achieve and touch on that point we talked about earlier, where 44% of shoppers actually abandoned their shopping cart because they weren't given that expedited shipping option. So this is a great way to introduce it to your website so you don't lose any additional sales, and you give your customers that speed if they are looking to expedite a package. Then the next thing we'll talk about is there's 2 solutions on this page, so UPS My Choice and the Access Point Network. On the left is UPS My Choice, which is, we talked about at the beginning, we have 67 million users of UPS My Choice. This is kind of just a guide for what keeps you aware of what's coming to your house. So everything you ordered, you'll get an alert. It also gives you the capacity to type some notes in. So if you're not home and you want the package hidden behind a bush or put it at the side door, you can do that and communicate that back to the driver. So this is great as a consumer to understand what's coming to your house, but also if you were a shipper shipping goods to consumers, it also gives you that peace of mind as well and helps drive the brand recognition with UPS. On the right side is the access point network, which we've done a lot of growth with over the past couple of years. We're now, so these are locations, commercial locations where you can pick up your package or have it held to be picked up. A lot of these are familiar to you, like the UPS store, CVS pharmacies, Michael's Craft Store and AutoZone are some of the locations, as well as local mom and pop type of stores as well. So we have over 40,000 locations where you could redirect a package to be delivered, or we see this is really popular with customers that live in high traffic areas like apartment complexes. So if they're at work all day and they don't want a package on their front door, they just have it delivered here instead. And as a shipper, this is also a benefit to you because when the package arrives, you know it's safe, somebody's accepted it, and it's in a safe place. And you also might have some savings as well because you eliminate the residential surcharge by shipping to these commercial locations also. And now I'll turn this over for the international piece for Sean to talk about this a little further.
Yeah, so let's talk about Zonos a little bit. And a lot of times when I talk to client about Zonos, the first question is, what and who is Zonos? So in a nutshell, Zonos, what they do is they make cloud-based software that online retailers can essentially use to calculate the accuracy of duties and taxes and present the consumer with a true landed cost, manage restricted items, localize their checkout, and receive foreign payments, mitigate fraud, and generate accurate international shipping rates. So it's everything that us as consumers, when we go to a website, when we go to make a purchase, those are all the things that we're looking for. So it's really it's a cross-border e-commerce experience. And Zonos and UPS has partnered. They have UPS Ready software. It works in the background of your shipping platform. You can see some of the e-commerce platforms there that's listed. It also is offered through our customer technology program where some funding can go towards the purchase of Zonos. So some of the highlights of it that I mentioned earlier, when you look at the landed cost piece, it allows the customers to see the duties and taxes calculated right there on the screen so they don't have to make any assumptions about the product and what's the final cost going to be. And also the import fees are also calculated, and it helps with item classifications. When you get to the checkout piece, a lot of customers love this piece, especially globally, because it localizes their checkout. The fields are localized, the payments are localized, and then they accept global payments as well. So they're just not limited to some of the credit card features and companies that we have here in the US. They also have options of global credit card payments as well. Then the fraud piece. A lot of customers are hesitant about international shipping because they're always afraid of fraud and the unknown. With the Zonos piece, they do offer fraud protection to where a lot of the purchases can be validated prior to being finalized. We have the Hello Free here, which is a welcome mat for shoppers in their local language and in their currency, their country's currency as well. So they get to see duty and tax quotes on the product pages in their country's currency. You have over 18 languages that is translated in, and then you have, of course, country-specific messaging. And then you have this one of the newer features, which is Quoter. Is the most advanced landed cost calculator that's out there right now, and that gives us the duty and the tax quotes. It includes the UPS customer shipping cost. Also, has an easy-to-use interface. So at the end of the day, customers will be able to go to your website, make those purchases with the ease of use from almost anywhere in the world with whatever product that you're selling. And with that, when you look at it, it gives us more of those reasons to sell globally, especially once again, coming out of COVID-19, customers are looking to expand into new markets. So some of the reasons why we want to export and use a tool such as this is that companies that export, they're 17% more profitable than those that don't export. It helps to smooth out a lot of companies' business cycle, including seasonal differences. It also increased the value of the intellectual property, and then it gets into different licensings that also can take place because now you're a global shipper. The other piece I'll mention that goes along with this and more reason to export is that it increases the value of your business. Should you want to expand, should you want to do some other business transactions within your business internally, this gives you more leverage because now your global brand, your global company. So back to Jackie.
That's great. Thanks, Sean. Yeah. Yeah, and the other piece, I mean, once you do set up your e-commerce platform, you will get some traffic from international viewers. That's it just happens. Even if you're not marketing it, it always happens. So this is a great solution for that, especially remembering that so much of the opportunity is outside of just UPS borders. So export's a great opportunity there. And then I'll turn it over to Janet for some other options on the e-commerce side through UPS Capital.
Thanks, Zach. So with the surge of online ordering, fast, secure payments. So UPS Capital Merchant Services provides a cost-effective way to accept multiple forms of electronic and mobile payments. So credit cards, debit cards, gift cards, e-checks, and loyalty programs. And so it could help accelerate your cash flow through next day funding. It's easy to integrate into your current system. And again, you can process those payments through your traditional POS terminal or mobile payments, tablet and smartphone. And then cyber liability insurance. Now that's, now that we've pivoted to work from home, secure connections and security is really more important than ever. So should a breach happen, it can cost the business thousands of dollars. So companies can protect themselves with cyber liability insurance. And it would cover public relations, forensics investigations, breach notification meetings, call center support, credit monitoring, and also any lawsuits affected to individuals or others. So definitely something to think about and consider in these days. And also for those companies who accept COD, our products can allow the payment to you within 2 to 3 days.
Jackie, thanks. So that wraps up the e-commerce section. And the third challenging area that we see with our customers we'll talk about is cost savings. And this would be pretty much any time of the year, any year that we're looking at. It's not specific to COVID, but some of the changes recently have driven some different types of problems within this bucket. But we'll talk through some of the trends in general. So the biggest one, you see some buzzwords on here like lean manufacturing, additive manufacturing, 3D printing is a big aspect of this. The other thing we've done a lot of research on, and we've seen that when you look at other industries like professional services and retail, they tend to have more regular meetings and understandings about their capital picture and where their balance sheet, where they really need to focus. Whereas with some of our manufacturing customers, we see them do that a little more frequently. So that just might be a trend to observe or take away from this. Planning those regular meetings to forecast and make the decisions from the financial side might be beneficial as well. But the big piece of this, you can kind of see like a general flow chart, right? Your raw materials go into your design process and then you manufacture your good, get it to the consumer through whatever sales channels you use. But after that, customers can throw it away, right? Or if you could recycle it somehow and get it back to you, where you could reuse maybe a part of it, or even if you just extract the nuts and bolts and you can put that into a new piece of equipment, that's a big trend and a big piece that we see moving forward. It also ties a lot into the sustainability that everybody's so focused in and will continue to be focused in moving forward. So we can easily help with that returns piece, which we'll talk about later. That's the biggest trend and takeaway from a lot of what we're seeing in manufacturing with our customers. And then on the consumer side, from the buying perspective, with our industrial buying dynamic survey, returns also were the number one important piece of the post-sale service component. So 7 in 10 of our industrial product buyers cited returns as the most critical piece of the puzzle post-sale service. So that's a big takeaway. The returns tie nicely, of course, into the recycling. If consumers feel like they can send the product back either when it's damaged, when it needs a repair, or when they're done with it, and they'd rather just see it be recycled than thrown into, the trash, that's a big piece. And millennials especially resonate with that sustainability message as well. So for the nominal cost of sending a good back to you, you could, achieve some recycling and some savings in your overhead if you're able to either recycle parts of the product or maybe melt it down and reuse it into some other good that you're manufacturing. If there is a way to integrate that into your production process, that's a great area of opportunity. The other trend, of course, specific to COVID is obviously the financial strain. So 81% of small business owners have already said that COVID-19 had a negative impact on their business. This is no surprise probably to a lot of you. 77% have seen a decline in revenue. And even on the flip side of this, the customers that have had the privilege of being in a gaining industry or selling a product right now that's gaining quickly, they also see some constraints and just some difficulties in managing through that growth as well. So there's some solutions we can offer in the cash flow area that also might be able to help you. The first I'll talk about is the customer technology program. So if you think back to that slide where I reviewed all the e-commerce demand generation partners that we work with, as long as you ship with UPS, we also offer this customer technology program. So by shipping with us, we can offer you, depending on how much you ship, of course, we can offer you a subsidy that you would be able to potentially use with those providers that we talked about, or you could even just put it towards buying any hardware or software. A lot of customers buy printers or laptops, whatever you need. So that's a great way to leverage your relationship with UPS. If you use us, you might have an opportunity to get some additional subsidy and put it towards a solution that would help your business grow. We also have a customer solutions team. So we have about 15 or 20 solutions executives that work in the state of Florida. They usually meet with customers and they're able to help optimize your efficiency. So a lot of times they can go into a warehouse and just see how everything flows, make some suggestions that might promote levels of efficiency within the workplace and also some safety standards. And by doing that, they're usually able to save 5 to 15% of your total supply chain costs. They can also be beneficial if you're looking to open up additional DCs or new areas. They can help you look at that and make an educated decision on what might be the best location to help you maximize your profitability. So that's another avenue to look for. If you think this might be an area of interest, you can email me at the end of the call. We can connect you with the right person. And then I'll turn it over to Janet for a couple other options in the capital realm.
Okay. Well, Cabbage is an online financial technology company, and we're proud to support them. They've just launched the helpsmallbusiness.com, where you can actually sign up as a business and create an online gift certificate program, so that after you sign up, it's relatively easy. You can sign up and then sell those certificates, use the URL and post to your website, other social media platforms, and you'll receive money for those sales as early as the next business day. So it really helps, the businesses now and have their customers, the loyal customers, really support the businesses. So it's free to sign up. It only takes a few minutes. And again, it's helpsmallbusiness.com. And then for UPS Capital, we really provide protective services for your business. You know, as your economic situation fluctuates, having the cargo insurance to protect your business and your finances, even on a transactional basis through the API pay-as-you-go insurance, it could cover, again, multi-carrier, multimodal, worldwide loss, and damage protection. It also has the ability where you can kind of look at all your shipments from all your different locations, kind of a digital tracking where there's reports that we can generate depending on what your needs are. So you can see, claims issued, claims by location, also for maybe particular customers or lanes to really see where you might be able to mitigate risk going forward. And then having the streamlined claims process, again, all modes, all carriers, being able to either submit and issue claims right through your own ERP, your own platform, or through our online platform. In terms of protecting your receivables, we do have a trade credit protection. And what that is, with every sale, there's always a risk that customers will not pay. So a trade credit insurance can really help protect the domestic and international accounts receivable against unexpected bad debt loss due to like insolvency or slow paying customers. So companies can use trade credit insurance to safely and confidently expand into new markets and keep the current customers by offering them more flexible credit terms. And then to protect your cash flow, again, we have the enhanced COD payment options, which can expedite payments, protect your cash flow, and manage the timing of when customer checks are deposited.
Great. Thanks, Janet. So I'll go through and summarize the 3 areas that we did talk about today. So inventory delays and shortages, the main issues obviously right now are limited operations and global ports with the huge demand from consumers. There's also some rationed commercial air capacity, but there are a lot of expedited options that might be a good fit if the ocean is not the way to go right now. And then, of course, the visibility challenges on the inbound inventory, getting a good feel for when everything will come in and when you can resume, full production processes. The shift to e-commerce, there's growing consumer preferences, obviously driving those e-commerce decisions. And we dove into a little bit about the psychology behind those buying decisions. We talked about the digital marketing importance to help build that online brand moving forward. And then in the cost savings, we talked about some of the financial stress just that comes with business in general, but specific also to COVID, and some inventory and sales challenges. Obviously, as you have those supply chain hiccups from that inventory bucket, that also might have an impact on your bottom line too. So taking all that into account, and just if you think back to where you were in January, maybe you had a plan and then just kind of had this obstruction ahead of you like you see here. But now's a good time to just evaluate and pivot, and hopefully we've provided some guidance and insights that might be opportunities for you to look in a different direction. So just to summarize again, some of our solutions and I guess our recommendations moving forward. If you're dealing with some inventory delays and shortages, work to create plans. And also if this is a good time where you have an opportunity to differentiate suppliers and maybe look to North America or Europe or something instead of Asia, that might be a great opportunity to do that so you have more options moving forward. And also just continue to be transparent with your customers, whether it's things like we saw on your website or emails to your customer and your partners. Share as much as you can. The communication is always positive in this regard. And then the shift to e-commerce is uncomfortable for a lot of manufacturers if they're familiar with doing business, not in that fashion, but it's almost a necessary element moving forward, whether it's through the marketplace or direct from your manufacturing website. Decide what works for you and then decide what help you need, if any. And then from the cost savings perspective, understand where your biggest pain points are right now, your strengths and weaknesses, and then prioritize from there where you need the most help. If it's something that you can look for outside help, or if it's a tougher decision that you have to make, that's what we would just recommend in these buckets. So I will tie it up. We also have some additional links on this website for this slide here. So if you're interested in some additional webinars where we dive in deeper to exporting, returns, or certain things like that, we have a series of webinars that are available for free on that link here. And then if you were interested more in those industrial buying dynamic trends that I went through throughout this presentation, you can also download that from the link that we'll supply here. So then I'll just wrap it up. We didn't get that many questions, it looks like, in the chat, but if you do have any interest or questions in anything we went through today, you can reach out to me directly. I would just ask you also include your company name and address. So if it is something that would require an in-person visit, I could connect you with your local account manager as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to my co-presenters, see if anybody has any closing comments, or if not, we will take any questions. Okay, there was the one question, Janet, if UPS Capital is accepting new customers at this time.
For which service? For all services?
I didn't specify, yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes, there's one or two, like say for instance, I know Cabbage at this point is only offering the gift certificates, where they were at one point offering loans to customers. So that has discontinued at this point. But yes, in terms of customers, we're writing insurance all the time and getting more and more of the transactional as well. Because some customers love to insure everything, in which case the annual policy is fine, and then others like to be able to insure transactionally. And so having the API with their ERP system has really worked well for many of our customers. We're seeing that part actually grow in our business.
Great, thanks.
Hey, Jacqueline,
Are there any other questions?
The only other thing I was going to add, just a statement. If there's anyone that needs any help from an international perspective, me and my team are ready here in Florida. Please let us know. We look forward to communicating with you and answering any questions. Thank you.
Any other closing remarks?
No, if not, I'll
Okay.
just thank everybody for joining. Thanks. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
I'll turn it back over to you
We'd
guys.
like to
Thank you.
thank the UPS team for your time and knowledge this afternoon. We'd also like to thank the UPS team. They are a member of MACF and a strong supporter of not only Central Florida manufacturers, but manufacturers in the state of Florida and worldwide. We'd also like to thank, once again, Florida Makes for their continued support of the Florida manufacturers. And we thank you for your participation in this webinar. If you'd like more information about MACF, please check out our website at www.macf.biz. And as you exit the webinar, we are seeking your feedback on how to improve these webinars and better meet your needs with topics of value to you. Please watch for upcoming webinars both through MACF and Florida Makes. And at this time, I bid you a good day and stay well. Thank you.